My name is Tsui, and I'm an Asian American, specifically Chinese American, pianist, music educator, product of the New York City public school system, and Brooklyn, New Yorker for life. I live and breathe music, and I have been since I was 4 years old when I began playing piano. I pursued music education, and in 2013, I founded a music program in a public elementary school in Brooklyn, New York. I believe that public music education is a birthright, and I'm so lucky to create music with my students every day. This is a story about how my students thought I had the coronavirus because I'm Asian. In mid-February 2020, I was wrapping up our daily morning assembly, leading the entire school in songs, cheers, and chants to start our day in a positive way. I was walking with my 4th and 5th graders up the stairs to my classroom when a 5th grader stopped me. "Miss Alice." "Yes?" Students stop me all the time. "I have something to tell you." "Okay, what is it?" "Someone said that you might have the coronavirus." I stopped in my tracks, but only for a moment. You see, I teach in elementary school, so things are constantly moving, and there's never really time to actually stop. I continued up the stairs, but my mind was already racing. Students quickly entered my classroom, hustling and moving to the tempo of New York City because I have them on a 3-minute timer to unpack, put their things in cubbies, take out their instruments, get tuned, rosin their bows, and so much more. As I was tuning my students, I had a blank stare on my face. I couldn't stop thinking. Who said it? How could they have said it? Really? My oldest students? My students who have been with me for 7 years, who I've taught for 7 years of their life, 7 years of mine? I greeted the entire class singing hello as I always do, and we went about our rehearsal. When we broke into smaller groups, I spoke with the student who told me at first. Turns out it happened during an early morning meeting amongst a group of students. A teacher that was with them said it was racist to say that, but why didn't I hear that from the teacher? We kept playing our instruments and my heartbeat has slowed down a few metronome markings, but what was my next move? By the end of class, I had interrogated more students and found out that these rumors started 2 weeks ago. 2 weeks, I thought in my head. I could feel the tension in my body and the uneasy accelerando and retardando with each inhale and each exhale. I had to speak to my students, my 5th graders, the entire grade. I felt my pulse start to increase in tempo again as I started to plan out what I want to say in my head. I reminded myself that I'm not mad at them. No, I'm not mad at them at all. I'm mad at the misinformation, at the perpetuation of it, of the toxic, systemic racism that we are forced to inhale in our communities and our environments, and as people of color especially. I'm not mad, I'm furious. I'm incoherently furious. I ran up a flight of stairs to the 5th grade classrooms and paused for a brief moment before turning the door handle. I walked into the first classroom. Here are my students, who I've taught since 2013. My students who I've taught since they were 4 years old. 7 years of my life, 7 years and the majority of theirs. It was pin drop silent. No music, no sound. I looked around, waiting for all eyes on me. They knew what I was about to address, so I started. I heard that some students thought I had the coronavirus. Here are a few things that I need to tell you. There are things that you hear that are false and things that you hear that are true. Not all news is factual. Some is untrue and some is. News that is on TV, on your phones, on your devices, some of that unfortunately are for likes, views, and subscribes and not for sharing the truth. That is just the reality. It is hurtful when I hear that someone and some students have been saying that I have the coronavirus because it's false. There's no evidence to support this claim. I know I'm Chinese I'm Asian, and I'm proud to be both Asian American and Chinese American. Just because I look like a group of people who are primarily affected by this right now doesn't mean I have it. If you're thinking that simply based on the way I look, it is an unfair assumption to make of me or of anyone who is Asian. It is even more hurtful if you heard someone say it and you just stood by and didn't say anything, laughed at it, or agreed with it. This is perpetuating misinformation. Just like many of you, I'm similarly reading information on the news about the coronavirus, and I'm fine to have a discussion or debate about what we know and what we hear. I haven't been to China recently, and I'm really concerned about people who are affected by this, not just in China, but everywhere around the world. I'm not a doctor, and I unfortunately do not know particularly more than what you are reading or seeing in the media. I sincerely, truly hope that any students who may have said something, laughed, affirmed something that was said about me having it, or even thought about it, takes the time to reflect on their thinking. I do hope to hear some apologies, but I'm not going to ask for them. Maybe just because you feel like you need to. If there are any questions about my Asianness or Chineseness, please ask instead of assuming. I'd rather you ask me than to think or assume something that is not true. If there is something that you do not know or understand, just ask. I do not know everything about being Asian or being Chinese, but I can share what I know from my own lived experiences. I can continue to share who I am. I stopped there for them. I didn't write anything down that I had said. I was done talking and I heard my own voice, my breath, my body continue to tremble. I wasn't scared. I wasn't mad at my kids, but I could feel myself verging on breaking down in some shape or form. It wasn't going to be through tears. And I knew that my voice had power. They heard my voice shake. They heard what I deeply felt inside. I left the room, still shaking. And then I did it again in the second fifth grade classroom. But after that, I continued about my day. Remember, I teach in an elementary school. I had many other tasks to complete, lessons to prepare for, students counting on me to support them. At lunch duty, with my fifth graders, many students walked up to me later that day. I'm sorry, Miss Alice, about what people had said about you. I'm sorry, Miss Alice, that I didn't do anything when I first heard it. I'm sorry, Miss Alice, that I laughed when someone else said it, even though I knew it was wrong. I'm sorry that my friends made you feel disappointed or upset. I hope you accept my apology. I'm sorry I didn't do anything. Not everyone apologized. Not everyone needed to either. These are my fifth graders, my kids who I've taught since they were 4. Of course I accepted their apologies. I wasn't smiling, but I felt their genuine sincerity in them. All of them are a part of me and who I am as a teacher. My fifth graders are my kids. That day was truly draining. I was proud of what I had said out loud, but it took so much of me mentally, physically, and emotionally. I could feel my heartbeat racing and pacing like a roller coaster, as unpredictably as that. And I could feel the heat inside my body ready to explode because of how I saw stereotypes, misconceptions, and racism trickle down to my children. I wish that was the end of my encounters as a result of COVID-19, but it wasn't. Since sharing my thoughts on social media and simply existing as an Asian American woman in our society, I have continued to receive hate speech, racist comments, and attacks online and in person. I don't want this to be my kids or anyone's kids or the future that we live in. I don't want my oldest students growing up carrying or perpetuating racist thoughts because of something that was left unsaid. I always tell my students that our voices have power, and I constantly ask them, what will we use our voices for? A week ago, in a live music class online, I shared with my kids that my life has changed as an Asian American because of COVID-19, and how I've been using my voice on social media. One of my fourth graders stood up in uproar. Why do people have to be mean to Asian people? I just really don't understand. Whenever I see an Asian person, I just smile at them. We don't have to be like this. She's right. We don't. We don't have to be like this. She used her voice to express that. What will our kids and our future generations use their voices for? What will you use your voice for? Thank you.